Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Tedmer.
Yes, ma'am. Next is item B, the invocation by Raymond Duvall with Beachside Fellowship Church.
Let's pray together. Lord God, we're so grateful for the opportunity that we have to live and work here in Panama City Beach. And as we gather together in this room, under the words, "In God we trust," we put our trust in you and ask for your guidance in our city and everything that we say and do. Lord, I pray for every member of this council, Lord God, for the city staff, for our first responders, for everyone who works and serves us here in Panama City Beach. Bless them, Lord, strengthen them, bless their families, and give them vision for the future. Father, tonight especially I pray for Mayor Tedmer and Councilman Register as they have embarked upon their careers in public service. Lord, I thank you that you will grant them wisdom, strengthen them, Lord, and bless them with your peace and with your favor. Lord, we thank you for the wonderful plans that you have for Panama City Beach. We thank you that your purpose and plan will prevail. Give us the wisdom to hear your voice and to do your will. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Next up is item C, Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Coburn.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item D is the community announcements. May 10th through May 12th is the USSA Conference Tournament at Frank Brown Park. May 16th through May 18th is Florida Jeep Jam at the Frank Brown Park Festival site. May 18th and 19th is the USFA Tournament at Frank Brown Park. Then Saturdays, May 18th through June 29th, is the Bayou Beach Volleyball Tournaments at the City Pier. And then on Thursday, May 23rd at 9 a.m., we have the next City Council meeting here at City Hall. And May 25th and 26th, we have Travel Ball USA Tournament at Frank Brown Park. Item E is the approval of minutes. Ms. Pizzoni, as a matter of clarification, could you read the tally for last meeting's vice mayor votes?
Sure. Those voting for Councilman Jarman for Vice Mayor were Councilman Casto, Councilman Jarman, and Councilman Register. Those voting for Councilmember Coburn for Vice Mayor were Mayor Tedmer and Councilmember Coburn.
Any further discussion from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Pizzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Tedmer.
Yes, ma'am. Item F is approval of agenda. Mr. Whitman, is there anything you'd like to add or delete?
Yes, sir. I'd like to add part of the presentations that recognize the Girls Incorporated. You did a proclamation for them the other day. I'd like to have them come up for a photo op with the whole council, if you don't mind.
Okay. The most common feedback I got from this weekend was that people loved the air show, but didn't understand why it was scheduled the same weekend as Thunder Beach. I would like to add an item for discussion of last week's special events. What does the council think?
That's fine. I agree. Yeah, great.
Okay. Is it okay to put it at regular item 1?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. Wherever you want it.
Yeah.
Are there any other changes from the council?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Ms. Pizzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Tedmer.
Yes, ma'am. Next up is item G, presentations. Our presentations this evening will be led by Councilman Register.
Before we get to the proclamations, we want to bring up some wonderful young ladies from our Panama City Beach Girls Inc. chapter. So we'd like to bring up Miss Curtis. Miss Crystal Curtis, is she here this evening? There you are, fantastic. And we want to recognize Little Miss, which is Tizana Thompson. Junior Girl of the Year, Riley Curtis. Girl of the Year, Xenia Mastroni. Zanaya, I'm so sorry. Come on, let's get a great picture. Thank you, guys.
Mayor, would you? No,
Yeah, let's do the entire council.
You want to get it here in the middle, maybe?
Get some exercises.
Come on, you guys, get your steps in. I feel tall right now. Thank you. Congratulations to you girls. Fantastic. Thank you all so much. Thank you all. Future leaders in our community right there. Next up's a proclamation for National Police Week. Chief Tao. You got to hold it so I can read from it, man. So just a second. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the PCB Police Department play an essential role in protecting and safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our beach community, visitors, and businesses, and whereas it is important that all residents and visitors know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazard, sacrifices made by the members of the PCB Police Department as well as their families, and as where the Panama City Beach City Council gratefully thanks the men and women of the PCB Police Department who continue to choose to serve and protect our residents, visitors, and businesses. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Panama City Beach hereby designates May 12th through May 18th, 2024 as National Police Week, and further extends our appreciation to our incredible Chief, J.R. Telementes, and all members of the PCB Police Department for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication and service to the PCB community. Thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, thank you. First, just I wanted to give another quick shout out to the Girls Incorporated. You guys, it's an amazing organization, especially see one young lady I recognize right there. Great job. Proud of you. National Police Week, ladies and gentlemen, just I'll put it in perspective. Every year for National Police Week in Washington, D.C., we have a memorial for those officers that never made it home. This year, in 2023, we had 137 police officers that signed in service on a radio and never signed out of service. It's a tragic situation, but it is an amazing representation of American spirit that we continue to remember their legacy and their service to our nation and our community. So for this, thank you very much. And to all the police officers out there, officer, and everybody else listen, know that your community supports you, and we want everybody to be safe. Thank you.
I think we can all agree we got the best police chief there is. So incredibly thankful to Chief Tao. So next proclamation is for National Safe Boating Week with Mr. Tony White with U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. Is he here this evening?
I didn't see him this morning. I don't see him.
Sorry,
Let me
I don't see it.
read over it anyways. Absolutely. So whereas the City of Panama City Beach is committed to ensuring the safety of all residents and visitors, and whereas the City Council of the City of Panama City Beach recommend all boaters take necessary safety courses to gain valuable knowledge and on-water experience in boating safety, now therefore the City Council of the City of Panama City Beach recognizes May 18th through May 24th, 2024 National Safe Boating Week and encourages everyone to practice safety measures while boating. So this proclamation actually goes to a fellow colleague, so Michael Jarman, please join me. This proclamation designates May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month. Whereas the National League of Cities was founded in 1924 in Lawrence, Kansas, as the American Municipal Association by state municipal leagues, seeking more coordination and national representation as cities, towns, and villages expand rapidly. And whereas the National League of Cities works in partnerships with 49 state municipal leagues across the country to strengthen local leadership, drive innovation, and influence the federal policies that impact local programs. And whereas the local governments, like the City Council of the City of Panama City Beach, are the bedrock of American democracy, providing residents with the most accountable, responsive, inclusive, ethical, and transparent government in the world. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Panama City Beach hereby proclaims May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month in celebration of America's local governments and National League of Cities historic centennial anniversary.
Thank you.
Want to say anything?
Next up is item H, public comments on consent and non-agenda items. At this time, we will accept public comments. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone to please limit your comments to beach business and to address the council as a whole and not personally. Public comments, please.
Bill Caravello, Panama City Beach. Good evening, everybody. Impact fees. When was the last time impact fees were reviewed and increased? Where can I find a fee schedule on the city website? If not on the website, why not? Outflow. Has the city received all approvals from the state and federal governing agencies to move forward with the project? Will the city set up a forum and have speakers from these agencies come to discuss the viability of the project? Can the city provide historical data showing areas that have been prone to flooding within the city limits? Will the city look into installing signs welcoming visitors to the city of Panama City Beach on major arteries, 79, 98, Front Beach, a sign similar in size as the county sign on 79? With the widening of 98, it appears they are removing the drainage ditches. Where is that water being routed to? Lastly, why is it taking the city 2 years to rebid the contract to replace the water mains in Bitterweed? Does the city have an alternate plan if there are no bidders? Thank you. And by the way, kudos to whoever set up that flyover. What do you call it? Oh. Air show. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Kellenfeld.
What?
The air show.
Oh,
The air show, yeah.
You want comments now about this past weekend, or you want to wait till your...
Let's wait because it's added to the regular agenda.
My name is Captain Gary Wayne Beck. I live at 2601 Beach Street. Mayor, I'd like to thank you once again for you managed to accomplish nobody has been able to do for the last I don't know how long, and that was the other day to get the law enforcement and the people to respond to something that's been ongoing with me and the Republic for over 14 years. Since I've spoken to you last, I found another 2 people that has been brutally savaged by the code enforcement with the county, and I can more than prove.
Sir,
from
could
the-
you?
Yes, sir.
Beach business only. That's county
When it's
business.
the Constitution and Bill of Rights, you know, because that's what's been ripped of the people of Bay County. When I'm speaking of them talking inside the courtrooms and that they forged my name yet again, sir.
Sir, that's Bay
And when
County,
they forged my name
that's
in
not
the-
Panama City
sir?
Beach. Sir,
when they
that's Bay
for-
County, not Panama City Beach.
No, sir, this is here on Panama City Beach as well, because whenever they forged my name with Hurricane Michael, I was at the Beach Elementary School, and I've encountered capital felonies. And what I'm asking you to do, is there any way you can get me in touch with a law enforcement officer that recognizes capital felonies in this town? You know? I mean, I've had capital felonies. You know, I got the devil on the line right now that did awful things that I wished I didn't have to repeat. But unfortunately, I find myself in a situation where they control the media, and they're able to take and paint a picture of me. And they're telling me they're coming to take my house again. And that occurred on Panama City Beach. Because the taxes, they're telling me, I just paid $10,000, and they've got 5 different times, 5 different stories. During the meantime, maybe the officer back there can tell you something. You know, in Clara Peace, I reach a point with this government, as well as I have these people sitting beside me, where I get this blank stare, and they pretend they don't hear nothing. And it's the people that's suffering because of their ignorance. And then we get to have to focus on the fact that it is a system that where they scratch each other's back to keep people from being
Sir.
able to talk. You know, whenever I'm carrying on a conversation, I've tried to talk to any of these elected officials that you're surrounded by. They always have somebody to stop me so they can spend me 2 weeks at a time. During the meantime, they take the media and they put my life as well as other people's lives in danger. They put booby traps in my house. They put upside down crosses in my house, destroyed everything I had. During the meantime, they set me down with a man that thinks he's a woman, and he proceeds to tell me I'm mentally delusional about a place that I had to go through a security background check just to be in the same room with the people. And this is a story.
Sir,
that
could you
everybody
please
in
move
this
on to
town
Panama
knows.
City Beach
Sir,
business? Please move on to
This is
Panama.
Panama City Beach I'm talking about. You know? And the fact that you have to take and nitpick my conversation to such an extent and run interference for these people around you makes me worry about you. Georgia boy, whenever they
Sir,
say that-
please address the council.
Okay. Well, anyway, the government then, whenever, you know, we're dealing with the government has to remember we're a republic founded on the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I swore to uphold that. And if I keep getting subjected to these criminal acts and they keep threatening to take my home, there's going to be
Sir,
bad stuff.
your
to pass.
comment period is over.
Can you help me?
Any other public comment? Mr. Whitman? Oh,
My name is Jim Smith, 506 Tarpon Street in Bidawee. In his inauguration, former President Reagan stated, "It's a new day in America." A lot of us locals are feeling that way again. We'd like to work, cooperate with our new city council to listen and to respond. We'd like to exchange ideas and solutions about what's in the best interest of our city and communities, how traffic movement can be improved that costs millions less and benefit the public more than the present plan. 3 months ago, FDOT Director of Transportation Planning, an engineer, and his staff visited and toured Bidawee Beach. Following the tour, he stated that the city can get what they want and need within 60 feet, not using the entire 100 feet of the easement and impacting the environment of the beach. He recommended that we re-engineer the plan to 60, provide it to the city manager for him to brief the members of the council. We did that 2 months ago, and we're awaiting for a response or a discussion. The current plan will have a long-lasting negative impact on our lives and the environment of our state declared historical heritage beach. We want to have a serious discussion of the issues, including possible solutions that we're confident can be worked out to everyone's satisfaction. Since 1998, Bidawee Beach has been a natural habitat wildlife preserve. We've coordinated with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, lines off the sand dunes and nesting areas with signage to protect the endangered species of sea turtles and shorebirds. Our sand dunes have grown 15 to 18 feet high, covered with golden sea oats. We have 4 French drains with catch basins that captures our stormwater runoff, filters it, and renourishes the Florida aquifer. The environment of Bidawee Beach is very sensitive. Removing the first set of dunes, over 150 palm trees, the natural canopies, which by the way are the only canopies on Bidawee or on Panama City Beach, and other indigenous plants will negatively impact the ecosystem and the environment of the entire beach. A little known fact, our Bidawee community is the highest tax property in Bay County. In 2004, the State Department declared Bidawee as an amenity to the community. The property appraiser assigned the value of our beach property to each of the 632 lots, increasing our appraised value from $20,000 up to $100,000 per lot. That raises our taxes substantially. So we do pay a lot of money on our beach property. With the current plan change, the city and
Jim,
our
you're going to have to
community
wrap it up
will
here
suffer.
soon.
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to wrap it up here soon, Jim.
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to wrap it up here soon, Jim.
Oh, I'm at last two sentences. With the current plan, the city and our community will suffer an economic impact. The city and our community will lose public beachside parking. Bidawee will lose short and long-term renters, and the value of our property will decline. These are a few of the issues we'd like to discuss with the new city council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Don Rice. I live in Bidawee. And first off, I'd like to thank Jim for his phenomenal discussion. And I'm the opposite. I believe in the KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid, okay? And basically, this plan has two of those four words covered. First off, that plan is not simple. It's take away from the locals. But the fourth word, keep it simple, stupid, that plan is stupid. It makes no sense. It's a problem with anything that's discussed. And so I've heard from the CRA people, and they're saying, way back when, if you need parking, buy a lot. Put all your people on the lot. Well, you just heard the value of our lots went up, and now you're trying to make them go down. So simple, stupid's the best way. You need to review that, and it'll work for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russ. Anyone else? Mr. Whitman, would you please respond?
Yes, sir. I'll try to get my mic a little closer. I know there was a comment last week that they had a hard time.
Yeah, I'm working on that too.
Trying to speak up for everybody. I'll start off with Bill. Bill, if I missed anything, I apologize. Impact fees, the last time we did a study on that was in 2018. You can find that in our resolutions on the city's website. We are looking at doing another one in the near future that was brought to my attention a while back. So we'll probably do one with the council's approval because it's over my spending limit in the near future during the budget workshop. The outfall, we have not received all of our permits. We're waiting for one more coming in, hopefully to be here soon so we can move forward with that to see what we're going to do with that at the council level. They've already done a couple of public workshops on that. I don't know if there'll be another one. I'll have to research that. But I think once the final permit's issued, because they've already done through the review process and public comment, I think we're allowed to bid it after, but I'll research that to make sure. But we're waiting on one more permit. The welcome signs, we do have welcome signs on all three entry points of the beach. Highway 79's got the big one that TDC put one, and we also got one on the east end and the west end. We can look at other signs. I'll get a cost and bring that back to council during the budget workshop if we have the right of way and where we can put it for signs closer to our city limits that he's referring to like the county has. He mentioned the 6 lane of Back Beach Road 98. There will be stormwater ponds, the drainage lines he's talking about right now. If he looks to the east of Pier Park on Back Beach Road, the state's building a large retention pond there. There's one going behind Palmetto Trays, and there's a few more going down the lane, but they're building very large retention ponds to make sure that stormwater is off there. They're getting it away from the curbs and it's going to the ponds. Bill, did I miss anything?
The last one was the.
The bid process, I'm sorry. He's referring to the speed hump, not speed humps, but the dips and the bad road conditions in Bidawee. The city has put that out twice. It's not just the road, it's the utilities under the road that's causing the problems. So we put that out for bid twice. No one bid on it. We've opened it up with because by charter, now we can ask for quotes to come in. We talked to a couple companies to give us quotes. We sent them some documentation in one company. They never returned with a quote. We can try to rebid it again, but we can't do the work unless we have a company that wants to bid on it or want to do the work. It's very an intensive project because it's an old line that goes through there. Some of it, and Mark Schaefer would probably know, and I can get more information on that, but some of those lines I think are 20, 30 foot deep, and they got sander on it because of the beach, and they start caving. That's where you get the dips. It's a priority for us. We put it out. Cole might correct me on this. I think 4 years ago and 2 years ago, and we had no bids on either one of them. And then we tried to get quotes, and we didn't get any quotes back on that either. So we're working on it. We don't like any of our roads looking bad. It's just we got to find a contractor that wants to do the job. Captain Beck, I have compassion for him. We've tried to help him before in times past. We even offered to help people. He wanted to do some writing. We're going to have people write his statements for him. Everything he's referring to besides the identity theft he's talking about occurs in the county about 6 miles outside of our city limits. I've referred him to Bay County Code Enforcement or Bay County Sheriff's Office. They can handle those aspects, or you can go to the 14th Judicial Court's State Attorney's Office, and they can work on him with that. He did mention that his identity was stolen back in 2019-20 during Hurricane Opal when he was staying at one of our shelters. There was a police report on that, but everything else he's referring to is in the county, so I can't help him with that. I'd recommend that he reaches out to those other agencies. Mr. Smith, the colonel from the Air Force, I did meet him out there. Most of his was a statement, but he did make one comment that I was going to brief council. What I told him on the site when I was with Tim Smith and 6 of his people, that I would share with my engineers. He gave me a copy of some diagrams that his engineer did, and I did give that to staff. I didn't bring it up to council because right now the council's direction is to move forward. Staff looks at it, but right now we're staying with the same footprint that council gave me direction on moving forward with. But I never briefed him saying I was going to brief you guys. I would probably talked about it in one-on-ones over the last couple of years, but it was never a briefing towards you. It was to staff. And Mr. Don, unless I missed a question, I think his was just a statement about the CRA project. So if I missed anything from that, I apologize.
Okay, hearing no more, we will close this portion of the meeting. Next is item.
Mayor.
Yep.
Got a question for Mr. Whitman.
Yes, sir.
So Tim Smith was the DOT person out there?
Yes, sir, he was. He's the engineer for DOT out of Chipley. I talked to him quite regularly, and he had 5 or 6 people with him when I was out on site with him.
Okay. Mr. Smith, is that who spoke to you?
Yes, that would be Tim Smith.
Okay.
Who's the Director of Transportation Planning, and those guys with his staff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Made several comments too.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I know him. I'll give him a call.
Okay, next is item I, the consent agenda. Ms. Fazzoni, please read the consent agenda.
Resolution 24-126, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving the purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD service body truck for the Utilities Department from Allen J. Automotive Management, Inc., doing business as Allen J. Fleet Sales, in the total amount of $58,965, and agreeing to be bound by the terms and conditions of the City of Tallahassee's agreement governing that purchase. Number 2, action item, approving the creation of a new position of Administrative Assistant for the Public Works and Utilities Department and defining the job classification and responsibilities.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Tedmer.
Yes, ma'am. Next is the added regular item, discussion of special events. As we all know, last weekend the city hosted both Thunder Beach Motorcycle Rally and the Gulf Coast Air Show. Mr. Whitman, can you discuss the city's special event ordinance and why we allowed 2 large events on the weekend?
Yes, sir. I'll start off with Thunder Beach. That's historically, they always have their event at the end of April, 1st of May, so we know they're coming every year at the same time. The air show, we started talking to Colonel Watkins and his team, along with the Bay County Chamber of Commerce, Bay County TDC, and all the other hosting agencies that wanted to help with us. Actually, I was going through my notes. We started talking to them in July 7th of 2022. They were looking at doing an air show in May of 2023. Thunderbirds couldn't make that date, so we canceled that and we started moving forward. We were trying to do a date with the Thunderbirds that was outside of Thunder Beach, but that was the only date we could lock down the Thunderbirds. Working with our staff in-house, talking to the council members, it was decided to move forward with that. We reached out to all of our mutual aid partners. They said they could assist, and this was a big event that Tinna wanted. We thought it was good for our local residents and our visitors in town for not only Thunder Beach, but the ones that come down for the weekend. Like I mentioned, Bike Week's normal historical, so we knew that was coming. We knew it was going to be a lot of challenges, but we knew that people would really enjoy the air show if they got to see it, and having the Thunderbirds in our backyard to compete with the Blue Angels was important for staff, myself, the residents that we talked to, and definitely the 325th Fighter Wing over there with Colonel Watkins and his crew, because they haven't had an air show since 2017, and they wanted to bring something back while they're rebuilding their base. Going back to the special events that we were going to discuss about, was special events are protected, basically. I mean, it's an ordinance that was wrote by council. I'm only allowed to do certain things within those guidelines of it. Thunder Beach, if they check all the boxes, that they have their insurance, they have all their vendors checked off, everything in that box, they got public safety, they got EMS, they got their insurance coverage, they meet all that, I have no option but to sign off on it. I can't pick and choose which events come in our city limits. So that one was done. The air show, like I said, was different because it was the only weekend Panama City Beach and Tyndall Air Force could get the Thunderbirds in our backyard. We went through the same process. We filled out the special event permit. They checked all the boxes. We paid our permit just like everybody else would. And then we started advertising that the Thunderbirds were coming. Well, we actually started advertising before that because TDC, the Fighter Wing, dropped the announcement, and we dropped the announcement. 2 weeks before the event, we knew it was going to be traffic with Thunder Beach and the air show. Chief Talamantes did a good job with the traffic plan with Captain Deegans. They started pushing that out. I started pushing it to you. We started pushing it to media. So everybody knew there was going to be traffic in that area. We put up our big signs. We had everything. So we had our MOT, or maintenance of traffic, in place. We checked off on that. Thunder Beach had their maintenance of traffic checked off. So anything happened there, they could get people in and out with certified either law enforcement or trained MOT officers from the state to get traffic out. So every box was checked. We just knew it was going to be a big weekend. That's why we started advertising, saying it's going to be busy. Be cautious around Frank Brown Park, Pier Park, because any major event we have in our city is usually in that little corridor. So we try to warn people so they can go around or make plans to do it some different day. I have to compliment the chief and his crew on it. I was down there Friday night, got in and out with no issues, and I was there all day Saturday. When I left, I only live about 4 miles away. I was home in 10, 15 minutes. That's unheard of usually at a big event like that. I know a lot of people were concerned about the noise from the motorcycles. I know they were concerned about the air show itself because of the loud jets. 99.9% of the phone calls I received, they love the air show. They don't want it during Thunder Beach. I explained the same process we just walked through. If they meet all the expectations the city's got in the ordinance, I have to allow it. Anything else on the ordinance before I go to some stats?
No, go to stats.
Okay. During Thunder Beach, we always have a big crowd that comes in, and we always have traffic crashes and accidents. During Thunder Beach, we had 3 fatalities, where Captain Talamantes had to pull out his traffic homicide investigation. 2 of them were on May 1st, so that would have been the Wednesday before the event, before the air show. Tragic event that's going to change people's lives forever because they lost some loved ones. We had another traffic crash, which was down on Thomas Drive by Show and Tell, where a pedestrian was hit. They're fine. We had a couple of other major ones. This is a lot of manpower taken for THI. That's why I'm going through them by order. On May 3rd, we had 3 other traffic homicide investigations. They had to come out. Most of them have walked away. They're fine. And then on May 4th, we had another one on Back Beach and Hill where the passenger came off the back of the motorcycle and she passed away. And we also have one that's still in critical condition on that one. It's bad for anyone that comes down here. It's bad for their family. It's bad for our community. But those types of crashes usually happen. And all those, none of them had their helmets on, and I think alcohol is going to be related to some of those. So I wanted to touch, because a lot of people's like, you're killing people on motorcycles. Some of these happened before the air show even happened. One happened right at the end of the air show. And we did the PD did their traffic homicide, and we got people out there as soon as possible. It's a tragedy for their family, though, that lost a loved one. Some other stats that the PD had on top of that was overall through the 3-day weekend in the main event. I'll start with the fire department first. They had 124 calls for service for a weekend. That keeps them busy. Beach safety, that's down on the beach themselves. They had 3 medical calls, 9 rescues on the water. And then the police department had a total of 745 calls. 60 of them were arrests, 182 were traffic stops, 50 of them were traffic accidents, 9 were hit and runs, 8 were the traffic homicide investigations that I recapped at the beginning of this. And then we already talked about the 3 fatalities on that. But that's a quick rundown of the weekend. We knew it was going to be busy. It was the only weekend we could, the Thunderbirds, people already reaching out to TDC asking when the next one's going to be next year. I've had several calls. We would like to bring it back. If the community would like that, we're going to try to get them either early April or August. We're trying to get them here April, but we got to work around their schedule. And I'm open to any questions on that.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Whitman.
Yes, sir.
It was very thorough. You mentioned that if special events check the boxes, you essentially have to approve of them. So is there anything in the ordinance that allows the city to take into consideration the traffic caused by more than one large event or the availability of public safety personnel to cover more than one large event?
No, sir. If they check the box on the MOT officers that can direct traffic and get it out of there, I have to approve it. The public safety, they have to have a sworn police officer there or a Class D certified security guard. At the air show, we had a combination of both sworn officers and Class D officers, and they had the same thing over at Frank Brown Park. And they did, both of them had their MOT officers on scene. And an MOT officer can be also a sworn officer because they're trained in how to direct traffic and maintain traffic flow.
You know, I know I would like to see maybe an update to the ordinance that allows the city council to consider traffic and safety personnel overall before the approval. It may not have changed this event, but it would allow public time to discuss it so we can all get on board instead of it looking like the city just went forward and decided on this themselves. Although that's not what happened. What happened was we checked the boxes, we got our proof.
Yes, sir.
Any other council comments?
And it was the only time the Thunderbirds
That's the only
could be
time,
here.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think that's the main issue here is that in regards to these two events, Thunder Beach had already been set, and the Air Force said, well, if you want an air show, this is the days it's going to happen. So what was the attendance?
We got the first one on, I got my first day update on Sunday morning. On Saturday, there was 150,000 people in attendance according to FAA. I'm assuming it was the same on Sunday. I never got the hard count, but I'm hearing over 300,000 for the 2-day event, not counting the Friday practice where a lot of residents went out there.
It's like the biggest event we've ever had, isn't it?
It was a great team concept for our staff. It was great. As a city manager, watching police, fire, Parks and Rec, the utility departments, everybody in the city worked together, and it was something that our staff could almost like have a spirit of doing something together. It was amazing seeing everybody out there getting along, working, having a blast, and getting a free air show out of the whole deal. So it was a great team event for our city staff.
Yeah, I think that event is something that, you know, we can all be very proud of and look forward to it again.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a good event. Any other council comment?
No, sir.
Yeah, I would still like to see, as we have more and more large events, if we have 2, the second one be able to come up to this council, because as Drew mentioned, he can only consider events in isolation.
Sure.
And so bringing them in front of the city council allows us to consider things like construction, overall traffic impact, and the availability of personnel to handle the event. If each event in isolation checks the boxes, Drew pretty much has to approve them. So I'd like to see that option just so we can get it up, have it discussed in public.
I think we can, well, I guess that's something we're going to all direct somebody to do if we do it. That would be more legal, I believe, would it not?
To prepare an ordinance?
No, just give if it's possible.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if the council wants to direct me to work on an ordinance, we would look at the options to address the issue and bring you back. Obviously, special events we can't engage in viewpoint discrimination, so we don't get to pick which events we like and don't like. There are 23 different things that have to be addressed in a special event permit before before the city manager is empowered to approve it. All of those are clearly defined in our ordinance. So what we do is traffic, security, and medical aid personnel all have to be provided by the event based on the anticipated attendance of that event. That's how we address it now. I think the mayor is suggesting that once you have a large event already booked and on the schedule, already permitted, a second, I don't know what size event you were thinking of, but a second event would have to undergo an additional analysis by the council to make sure that, you know, I guess the sum of its parts of all the various events would be addressed on a gross scale, which we can look at if that's the council's will.
I mean, I'm happy to look at it if it's based on the second event. I don't want to look at every.
That's
that
what
would-
Yeah. The second, the first event, like, let's go forward with the process as it is now. That second event, you can have a compounding effect.
I like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing that we would have to look at is what will be the basis of our judgment of what is too much traffic, what is too much, you know, because I'm not an expert on it. So I think that's going to be the difficult part in trying to find a means of test that is legitimate and not arbitrary.
I think that's reasonable.
So,
Does someone want to make a motion?
Yeah.
Shall I make a motion?
or wait, I mean, this is just direct. We don't even need to make a motion on this, do we?
Well, I mean, if I get a bunch of head nods, then
Yeah.
that's good enough.
you've got-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look at our options here, and
I think
go
we have
forward.
consensus there.
Hopefully this will find the one weekend for the air show and not.
Yeah, I mean,
have it
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Can I clarify one thing real quick? Is it your intention that an additional review would happen for every event once there's a large event on the books, or only additional large events? Or because we
I think
classify
only.
events as small, medium, and large,
How's
and
that?
so I'm just trying to understand the parameters of what you want to do there. Is it review? Is it?
Yeah, I think medium and large.
Yeah.
What's the classification? Small.
I want to say it's up to 500 for
Up
a
to
small.
500 small, 500 to 3,000, or 5,000 is the medium, and 5,000 above is large.
I think it just needs to be large. I don't.
Yeah, we can do just large.
Yeah.
Just an additional large.
Yeah.
yes.
That would also keep this change as small as possible.
Right.
And then we can adjust it as we go.
Okay. I think I've got enough feedback to move forward.
Can we have some public comments?
I came here to address Section 4-20, which is this ordinance. If you read through this, it keeps mentioning the phrase that it will not pose an unreasonable danger to public health and safety. There is nothing in this ordinance that says anything about the residents of this city. We have no say in this thing. It doesn't care about us. And that's the problem with what happened this weekend. The public wasn't cared about at all. Yeah, you put on the great show, air show. Yes, all the bikers came. But was any consideration given to the residents of this city? We have residents here that have medical conditions, that are on medications. Is there any concern about them? You know, the air show was nice. But when the Thunderbirds buzzed my house at least once every day that they were here, that's not acceptable. Why did they have to buzz residential areas? Just because of the Thunderbirds? Sorry, I vented on that. Getting back to the ordinance. The ordinance needs to be focused on the residents of this city and what's good for the residents of this city. The Back Beach Road project has been in the works for some time. We knew it was going to take place. Why authorize Thunder Beach during the Back Beach Road construction? No logic there. You know, there has to be logic written into this ordinance also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Alfredo Martin, Dinomia Southie. I think we are all missing the point here. Traffic is fine. I live in big cities, Los Angeles, Miami, New York. I can be 5 hours waiting. The problem is the reckless driving. You are not enforcing two laws. First of all, the motorcycles are driving on the shoulder. I don't know who drinks or not, but somebody's acting crazy and driving reckless. It should be a stop. Because if somebody's driving and we got 10, 12, 20 motorcycles cutting us off. So we need to put up, I know we need tourism, we need money, we need shows, but we don't need reckless driving. If you stand in Middle Beach Road, Front Beach Road, and Lantana, in that corner, for a few minutes, when the motorcycles are here, you'll see how they drive, how they ride. So what I would put emphasis is checking on the traffic. It's nothing we can do about the volume of the traffic, but we can stop them from breaking the law. I can't believe nobody mentions that you have motorcycles riding on the shoulder, cutting traffic, passing cars, going at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And look, you know what's going to happen? A few years ago, we had a TV program coming and recording the spring breakers. You remember that. I guarantee you that's going to be in the national news. The 3 dead people are there because reckless driving. So I know the police is doing a great job. Thank you for your service. But I think if we put emphasis on making sure that nobody breaks the law, you don't have to act like a hawk, but educate the people. They break the law, you tell them. And the organizers should be responsible for the behavior of those riders. I clock 106 decibels in Oleander, about 100 yards from where I was standing. And they do raving. They do a speed exhibition. Come on, guys. You know what's wrong. I don't care about the traffic. I live here, I have to put up. They bring the money. But the reckless driving. And you are responsible, each one of you, to make sure to enforce the law. And I know the police is trying to do a great job, and the city, and the attorney, and the public relations, but you're not doing the job on the reckless driving. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further public comment?
I think this is the greatest place in the world to live, and I choose to live here. And I moved here from another place, just like most of you here. If you don't like it here, why are you here? I'm not trying to be rude to anybody, but let's not change everything. What we did this weekend with the Thunderbirds was absolutely amazing. They flew right by my house. My kids were outside. They're 150 feet off the ground. It was. I never saw anything like it in my life. It was something really special. And I want to thank all of you for coming together to bring that to us. I'm sorry if people didn't like this, but it was a very patriotic moment, and it really touched me. My family loved it. We didn't even have to leave the house to see it. We didn't have to deal with any of the traffic. And I just want to thank you. Thank every single one of you for having this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, folks, as far as the Thunderbirds go, I've been to every Tyndall Air Force show just about it out there, and I always enjoyed it. But for the first time in my life, I stood there, and when the F-16 came over, it vibrated my ear bone to the extent it got rid of the ringing in my ear, which was an awesome feeling. And as far as the motorcycles go, we can't have our cake and eat it too. They bring in revenue to our community, and it's a part, and we get to see all these beautiful machines. Yes, some of them will blow your eardrums out, but we can't have both. And as far as the laws are concerned, there's a lot of other laws that we need to take and focus on that's been going on. And people are going to do stupid stuff, especially when they ingest large amounts of chemicals. That's been part of the problem with this beach for a while. But we got to remember, I was here since it started. I got here in 1981, and I watched a lot of it happen. And I grew up in this community. And it saddens me to the fact that the government has nitpicked the people to such an extent. And then we come to the government and we have to take in, y'all got all your different statutes and you got all this different stuff. Just let the people be people. Let them ride their bikes. Yes, some of us are going to get hurt, some of them's going to get killed, but it's part of life. That's like with the beach systems and stuff like that. I've had a beach rescue system since 2010. You know, I could have saved many lives. But did the government recognize anything I done? No, they prefer to focus on the bad stuff rather than the good stuff. And Commissioner Zanzibar, I tried to tell him last week.
Sir, please.
Yes, sir. But
no name calling and address the council.
No problems. Anyway, I tried to tell him, I said, I got something that can make a difference to help our whole community. But instead, I'm stuck with these people that use the media to create a reality that I am absolutely tired of. I want to benefit my nation. I've said this before. I want to benefit Bay County. And y'all guys, the new guys I can speak for, y'all guys got y'all stuck. You're surrounded, you know? And I've been in the middle of this for a long time. Just judge me for me, just like I try to do everybody else. Don't believe what you hear. I say it to them. I stand for who that I am. And I'm tired. The media is a powerful thing when they get to run lies against you, especially when I'm standing here with the ability to benefit the whole nation. And what am I doing? I'm begging for law enforcement to protect me from felonies, you know, which is not a good thing. Not when we're supposed to be we the people, we the republic. And the Constitution and Bill of Rights was written by men that gave their lives and blood to make us all free. Every color, every creed, every religion. That's one of the benefits about being in America. You know, let's try to get back to serving the people, not tearing down their houses and taking everything they got. You know, not being proud that you got a suit that 9 times out of 10 we paid for, that they used to take advantage of the people with. Bring the lawyers against the people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any further public comments about special events?
One last comment.
Yeah.
We all knew what we were buying when we made the choice to move here. And when these weekends come up, luckily it's just a weekend. But we do need to ensure that our residents are safe from the reckless driving. And I saw a lot of it over the weekend, to the point where you almost don't want to go out and walk, for sure. So we need to learn to live with it and try to keep our residents safe, as well as the people that come here. We don't want a reputation of come to Panama City Beach and get killed in a car accident.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the robust discussion. Moving on to regular item, now number 2, ordinance 1642 regarding the noise ordinance. Mr. Davis?
An ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 16 of the city's Code of Ordinances related to noise control to correct a Scrivener's error, providing for severabilities, Scrivener's errors, liberal interpretation, modifications, inclusion in the Code of Ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Can you please explain the ordinance?
Yes, sir. So this is to correct just a typo in the ordinance. Currently, one of the tools that the police department has in enforcing the noise ordinance when it comes to loud vehicles or music playing out of loud vehicles is to impound that vehicle. There is a typo in the section of the ordinance that gives the police that power, cites the wrong subsection of the code. So if you look at the ordinance, you will find that there is literally one letter changed in the entire ordinance to correct that mistake.
Okay, at this time, we will open public comment for this item. Is there any public comment? No? Is there any discussion from the council?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next is regular item 3, resolution 24130, off-duty management MSA. Mr. Davis?
a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving master service agreements with Off-Duty Management, Inc. for administration and management of off-duty employment of fire and police department personnel.
Chief Talamantes, can you explain this item for us?
Mayor, Council, yes, historically, when a business or say an event that was coming to town needed some off-duty police officers to help manage that area, the coordination of that would typically be they would call the police department, and we would have to organize and see schedules for officers, and the officers would have to then coordinate with the business owner. So there's a very complex way to get an off-duty officer to work at an event. This simplifies the problem. It's 2024, we try to leverage technology where we might be short on manpower. This specific program is designed to help the community better interact with the police department in regards to the request for an off-duty officer. So basically what this is there'll be a link. If you want an off-duty officer, you go to this website, you click on it, you tell us the time, dates, locations where you're requesting that officer. That information will get then turned over to one single individual within the agency that's going to be managing this program. And the payment for that off-duty officer, the coordination, even in regards to the taxing of that officer, will all be handled by this single company. So it would take away a lot of work from our administration personnel, our finance personnel, as well as our staffing, or just our staff in general at the police department. Now I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
So this is just going to speed things up.
And simplify it.
Yeah.
And take a burden off of the department that has already.
That's correct. Every officer will have an app on their phone, so when an off-duty opportunity comes available, everybody would be given the opportunity to bid for it. It's the same exact company that the sheriff's office has just recently gone to as well. So this just doubles down on our ability to work together, because their officers will see our off-duty opportunities and our officers will see their off-duty opportunities.
Great. Mr. Whitman?
I'd just like to add one other thing. This is also going to free up our finance department that usually has to monitor the payment of this. And this will be the first time, since it's not going to be in-house, this will be the first time the city will be able to recoup some of the costs for the equipment, his patrol cars, his uniforms, and along with, this is the same concept for the fire department. We'll be able to recoup some of the costs that our city assets are going out there, so we get reimbursed from these companies.
Okay. All right. This time we'll accept public comments on this item. Thank you, Chief. Seeing no public comments, is there any discussion?
Well, I think we should probably look at those hourly rates at some time in the future that we're charging for the use of equipment.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable. Yeah. Seems we're haunted. Can I get a motion?
So motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Tedmer?
Yes, ma'am. This is regular item number 5, the ordinance regarding.
I think we're on 4.
Oh yeah, we have to move on to ordinance 1642 regarding off-duty management. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the city's Code of Ordinances related to off-duty employment, repealing the prohibition on police and fire employees engaging in off-duty employment on special events, requiring off-duty employers to reimburse the city for equipment and vehicle expenses used for law enforcement off-duty employment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing an immediately effective date.
Can you explain the ordinance?
Sir, sure. This simply is housekeeping to implement the master services agreements that you just approved. So this takes some conflicting language that was in our existing code and takes that out, and then adds the requirement for the city to be reimbursed for those vehicle and equipment costs. So this is simply housekeeping for your last item.
Yeah, so it's an implementation of the discussion we just have.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This time we'll accept public comment on this item. Any public comment? No. Any discussion?
Yeah, when does anyone know when the last time we did evaluate the what we charge for the equipment?
Well, these charges are new we negotiated these rates when we negotiated the agreement.
So these are new rates.
And then the rate So built into the rate that the off-duty management company charges to the employers is an hourly fee for the vehicles and equipment that the employer needs. For police department, that's $5 an hour, and that's actually, we negotiated that higher than what other municipalities are charging. And then for the fire department personnel, that's a scaling rate based upon what kind of equipment that they need, because the fire department has lots of different toys. And so there's a different fee schedule for that. But we did look at that as part of this master service agreement when we negotiated that just recently.
Sure. Okay. So the amounts are new?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
With the rising cost of gas, not to mention maintenance and wear and tear on city equipment, that's one of the reasons I think that we should look at this again and make sure that we are covering our cost. I mean, there's no place that you can rent a car for $40 a day, and that's what it is for a police car. If for 8 hours, it'd be $40.
Is that what it is?
When did we go through and set these prices with the agreement?
Well, just now, your last vote.
Well, when did you negotiate?
Probably in the last month.
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
And so, I mean, just for clarification, I guess, so the sheriff's office is charging $4 an hour for a police car, and we're charging $5. So we went ahead and upped it $1 more, but obviously, if you want to direct us to look at it in a year or something to see how much that is, or whatever you want to do, but that's the context for you.
Yeah, maybe.
That could be a good way to handle that, is to let it go for a period of time and then look at that. I just see all the money that we're spending on trucks and fire trucks and police cars. It's expensive.
Yeah, it may be useful to build in a reassessment time into the ordinance.
So I have one question. Does this allow Chief Tal to take precedence over his officers in case we do have an event and they're off duty and he needs to call somebody in?
Yeah,
how does that work?
The agreements that you just approved, so we're on a new item now, but talking about the past item, yes, there is language about to make sure that they actually are available to work the off-duty. There are minimum and maximum hours that a police officer can work based on the discretion of the chief. So the city still has a lot of control over when that off-duty employment happens. And your code, Chapter 2 of your code still controls when employees can work off-duty as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay. Is that it? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next is regular item number 5, ordinance 1642 regarding beach chair deliveries. Mr. Davis, could you read the title?
This is 1644. It's an ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 7 related to beach commerce, clarifying the requirements of delivery beach chair service, providing for penalties for fraudulently obtaining a permit required by the city's Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, Scrivener's errors, liberal interpretation, modifications, inclusion in the Code of Ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Would you mind explaining this ordinance to us?
Sure. This comes at the request of you. The council will recall that last year you made some substantial amendments to Chapter 7 of the city's code related to beach commerce. One of the things you did was to allow delivery beach chairs on the beach without a booth that is anchored on the beach in somewhere under certain circumstances. This code is some housekeeping on lessons learned from that first year of allowing that business to operate. It does a few things. One of them is the requirement for permission of the upland owner. It allows just an email to work from the upland owner versus a notarized affidavit. The beach chair companies came to us and said that that's difficult to obtain sometimes on short notice when a short-term renter may call and request a beach chair, and the lead time to get that notary can take a while. We've also required that any delivery beach chair clearly display the name, telephone number, and permit number for the beach service that put the chair there. That way, code enforcement and the public knows who had put the chair there, as well as the upland owner in case they don't actually have permission. And then we've added a penalty for where a beach chair delivery service or any beach service would lose their beach service permit if they fraudulently obtain any permit required by that chapter, which is a balance to the email, loosening the requirement for an affidavit to an email. If that email turns out to be fraudulent, the city has the ability to revoke that business's license for the fraud.
Thank you, sir. Are there any beach vendors here who can speak to the need for this ordinance?
Yes, my name is Jordan Good. I'm the owner of Surf and Sun Recreation here. We do vend in the city limits, and basically what we found through this trial and error of what we had last season was we do have a lot of guests that check in. You know, each individual house will have to have this upland letter for us to be able to vend behind there. And so what we are running into is the notarization requirement made it very difficult. You know, a lot of these owners of these properties do live out of state. They have other things they manage and do. And so if we have somebody that requests service, you know, a lot of times it's somebody elderly or handicapped. That's why they would request our service, to set them up. We're looking at having to get up with an owner that is out of state, not every time, but a lot of the time, and they will then have to go get the upland letter notarized locally for them, then sent back to us, and then sent into the code department. So you can see how it's like a long chain of events that takes us to get somebody service. By the time that's done, that guest may not have even had service. They may already have left. I mean, this could take a week sometimes to get this lined up. So all we're trying to do is make it a smooth process. We're not trying to change anything really that was in the last, other than making it to where we can do this. The owner can email us, even DocuSign something to say, you have my permission. Ultimately, if you forge it, you're going to get a fine. So we just want to make sure that this is something that's doable across the board for us to make it easier for service. You know, we don't want to make it harder for service. We're trying to simplify everything, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Is there any public comment for this item? Any discussion from council? Can I get a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Pizzoni?
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up is regular item number 6, Resolution 24-127. Mr. Davis?
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving a task order with McKinley Creed, Inc. for engineering services required for the preparation of an asset management plan for the city's wastewater treatment facility in the amount of $181,588.
Mr. Schaefer, could you please come explain this item?
Thank you very much. Good evening. This asset management plan is really needed for our wastewater treatment facility. Our staff that maintain and operate that facility do a remarkable job, and they, in fact, sometimes a little bit of perhaps too good of a job. You know, we keep equipment running for, extended periods of time. So that's reflected, and that's the reason why our rates are so low in our area. We're the lowest by a significant margin in our area. In the past, our practice has been when something would break, we would be able to get a replacement unit very quickly, but supply chain disruption and resulting from COVID really has changed the landscape and how we can operate. And so now we're having to adopt a more long-term and strategic posture in terms of when we replace equipment. And then there's also, not just when a piece of equipment wears out, there's technological antiquity as well. I mean, if you've got something like a controller that relies on a piece of software that's no longer supported, it may still operate, but you're going to have problems in terms of operating that piece of equipment. We just recently replaced our automatic switchgear controllers for that very reason. It still functioned, but the software was no longer supported, so we needed to modify it. So basically what this asset management plan does is our consultant comes in, looks at every aspect of our treatment process, our standby power systems, the rotating machinery and so forth, and comes up with a prioritization of what needs to be done, the timing of when something is done, And the replacement cycle on that equipment is developed in accordance with industry standards, the American Water Works Association standard, and then there's a Institute of Asset Management standard for how to identify the useful service life of a piece of equipment. So the end product of this is a roadmap that we can use to steer to in terms of budgeting when something needs to be replaced, so that it is replaced at the end of its reliable service life rather than when it is at a point near failure.
It sounds very useful.
So I'll be coming to you in the next meeting for a similar effort for our wastewater collection and transmission system as well. So it's going to be a review of all of our transmission pipes and our collection system, our sewer system, all of our pump stations. We have nearly 170 of them. So it's a very large asset. It requires an evaluation and also a similar asset management plan.
So this will allow us to get ahead of some of these supply chain issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It changes our posture entirely from repairing to anticipating when something is nearing the end of its reliable service life.
Being proactive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And the budgeting process is a lot easier, and it's over a 40-year window. It's not for the next 5 years. It's a major term.
Excellent. Mr. Whitman, did you want to add anything? No?
You covered everything.
Okay.
Fantastic.
At this time, we will accept public comment for this item. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Any discussion? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Pizzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Pettimer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up is Resolution 24-128.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving change order number 10 to the city's agreement with CWR Contracting, Inc. for construction of Front Beach Road Segment 3 in the amount of $115,547.80.
Mr. Passmore, can you please explain this item for us?
Good evening, Council. Scott Passmore, Assistant Program Manager with the Corradino Group, managing the CRA program for the city. This change order includes two items to allow us to move the project continually forward. One is we have 3 power service locations for both the street lighting and the irrigation within the corridor. They're designed to be compatible in the plans with the permanent locations of the utility undergrounding by FPL. Because that has not advanced along with the project, and it's subject to the schedules of FPL to do that, we need to, in order to get the lights functioning and to get the irrigation controllers power, to construct interim services that will connect to the existing overhead. So this part of this change order is to place those 3 interim services ahead of the utility undergrounding. The second part, we have 5 identified light pole foundations currently that have conflicts underground. So those conflicts range from existing gas mains, existing water and sewer facilities. The designs that we have initially are for, I'll call them narrow and deep foundations. They're about 6 feet in the ground, about 24 inches in diameter. At these locations, we're unable to place those standard foundations. So we've asked our contractor for a price for what we call a conflict foundation. In your package, you will see a scope of that design. They're typically about 7 foot by 7 foot, 2 feet deep. They bridge over those shallow utilities, allows us to place the light poles in those locations. We've asked you for a contingency for several more, so we don't have to come back to you, because we still do have the south side of Front Beach Road that we haven't fully identified all those potential conflicts. So I would anticipate 5 at this time, and we have a contingency for another 3. They are about $8,000 a piece, so we don't like to put them in, but it is a tool in a toolbox for us to be able to get the light poles in while working around all those existing utilities.
Okay. Mr. Whitman, anything?
No, sir.
Any public comment? Thank you, Mr. Passmore.
I had a question for Scott.
Oh, sorry, Scott.
If we
Thought you got out of it.
Almost. You're coming up for the next one anyway.
If we approve this change order tonight, in layman's terms, basically we're putting a temporary power service in to get these lights on 79
Yes.
before we get into the season. So
Yep, that's
if we
correct.
don't approve this, may not have lights throughout the whole
It
summer.
would have to wait until
Right.
we get the utility undergrounding done, and that, you know,
Right.
that's gonna take some time still.
That's what I
We're-
thought. I just wanted to put in layman's terms.
Absolutely. Need to get the lights on. That's been a request from both the public and from you all, and so we're working to try to do that.
That's all I have. Thank you.
So at some point, we're going to have to switch back to FPL, but you anticipate that? Yeah, when that's going to
That's
happen?
included in the contract currently, so really we have to do the work twice, unfortunately, because we have overhead today and we'll have underground in the future.
But we don't have to dig up the road again. Could you confirm that?
No, we have all the infrastructure in. It's about them putting their cables underground and us doing the service conversions for all the residences. That takes some time. On past projects, that's taken a year or two to make happen because we're subject to 4 different utility companies, FPL, Comcast, WOW. So on all the projects, we try to we'll get the road open, we'll get everything done, and then we'll have to go through that conversion process. You're seeing that right now on segment 5 and in the west part of the beach where FPL has done their hardening. You've seen that they've cut off those poles, and there's still utilities on those poles. Every utility comes down that pole, and they have to do it sequentially, and they all take time, and unfortunately, we're subject to that because we don't do that work. They do.
More questions for Mr. Passmore? Can you sit down?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Any public comment on this item?
I have one question about heading west on Front Beach Road, and they now have diverted you to get to 79 coming off of Front Beach Road, off of Front Beach Road, and you don't utilize the roundabout. Is that temporary?
Are you talking going north or coming
I'm-
south?
No, I'm talking about heading west on
Mhm.
Front Beach Road,
Mm-hmm.
and there, you veer off to get to 79. You don't go to the roundabout anymore. So,
That, I think that bypass is one way, and that's south. You don't ever go north on that.
No, there's
No,
no,
it's-
there's
or
a
they-
north.
yes,
The
it's nothing
north
but
is
north. It's
open.
nothing
Okay.
but
Yeah.
north.
Access for those businesses.
So-
Oh, I got you.
So
Yeah.
if that's going to be permanent, what good is a roundabout?
That's considered a slip lane. If you're going west, you stay on that. The roundabout is if you're gonna go back to the east, you gotta hit the roundabout to go to east. You're talking about the ones, like if you're going,
Yeah, like you want to go up to Back Beach Road.
yeah, that's a slip lane to get you to there.
Okay,
you don't
so
have to
that's
get the
gonna stay.
That'll stay, yes, sir. That's a permanent.
Well, that's
slip
better
lane.
than what it would have been.
Yes, sir. That way you don't have to
Okay,
get
no
the
question.
roundabout.
That's,
I was thinking heading east.
that's a job
Because he
well
said.
done.
Yeah.
Other stuff.
Okay.
Yay, we got
You
it.
said, we were talking section 5, and that got me thinking heading east, not west.
Okay.
Okay, any further public comment for this item? Any discussion, or we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Mazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Tettemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next is Resolution 24-129.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving purchase and sale agreements for land needed for the Front Beach Road Segment 4.2 project in the total amount of $237,747.60.
Mr. Passmore, can you please explain this item?
So I will, for the record, say Scott Passmore with the Coordinating Group. I'm assisting Amy Myers, Assistant City Attorney, with this item. So these are voluntary purchase and sale agreements with various property owners throughout the Segment 4.2 project for both license agreements, permanent easements, and other property acquisition that is identified in the Segment 4.2 plan as necessary for construction. So by approving these voluntary acquisition agreements, it avoids the need for adverse condemnation, eminent domain, offers much less expense to the city to negotiate settlements. Proud to say that for the most part, we are able to settle, I'd say, a majority of the parcels within the CRA with our excellent consultants and with the city, Assistant City Attorney. Give you an update, we're about 78% complete with our land acquisitions if you approve this for the Segment 4.2 project.
And this is 2 items for utility and 1 for construction?
They are various. So basically, this is for the construction of Segment 4.2. Generally, they're going to be permanent easement license agreements.
Cole?
Mayor, I'll clarify real quick. So there's one permanent easement for relocation of the electric utilities, and then there are two temporary easements for grading of the transition between properties. So you have a driveway, and then you have the road, and we need to grade those to where there's not a hump. And that's what two of those are temporary construction easements for those purposes.
Okay.
The utilities are required because under the undergrounding and conversion agreements with FPL, we have to acquire all of the property for their transformers and their other facilities to make that undergrounding happen. So that would be the utilities component.
Okay. Is there any further questions, Mr. Passmore? You sit down now? All right. Thank you, Mr. Passmore. Is there any public comment for this item? Any discussion from council?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, next up is the planning board vacancy. I've been pleased with the public response. Thank you, everyone who submitted your applications for the planning board. At this time, we will make our selection. Mr. Davis, will you please explain how paper ballot voting will work?
Certainly. So generally speaking, when you have two or more persons that are applying for the same position on a board or a committee, the council generally will vote by written ballot, the results of which shall be announced by the city clerk after each vote is cast, including how each council member voted. If necessary, the council will vote in successive rounds until one nominee receives a majority vote. For each round of voting, those candidates not receiving votes shall be eliminated from consideration on the next round.
Okay. So is there a discussion item on this question?
May I make a comment, please?
Sure.
I'd like to remind my colleagues that our boards and commissions are, we're not appointing women to these boards and commissions. We do have some women on them, but we don't have anyone on the planning commission. And I think it's time that we really look at diversifying our boards and commissions. And this time we're lucky enough out of, 15 applicants to have several very well qualified individuals. So I would like to ask your consideration in thinking about making an adjustment.
Just so everyone knows, I believe we have had a woman on the planning board.
Yes.
Yes, she left
yeah.
the first year that I was in office.
Oh, okay.
I served with her on the planning.
She moved out
Yeah,
of
she
the
moved,
area.
yeah. Just so, you know, I just didn't want anyone to get the misinterpretation that we've never put a woman on the planning board.
No, we've had them before, but
So.
we don't have them now, and it seems like we only think women are good on Parks and Rec and on the Art Committee.
All right, and thank you, Mary. Councilmember Colburn. I'll also say that the planning board is very important, and it's nice to have a good mix of wards represented on the planning board. Right now, we have about four people from Ward 2, one from Ward 1, and one from Ward 3, or one Ward 4. We don't have anyone from Ward 3 at all. So the planning board affects the entire, all four wards. So it's nice to have a good mix between the wards, not just have them dominated by one or two wards.
I'd like to thank everyone that applied. I think for me, if someone's not selected, we have other board positions. I'm definitely going to utilize these applications to reach out and try and fill some of those.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to interview 14 of the 15 applicants, and I really appreciate everyone taking the time to speak with me on the phone. It was really interesting to hear why you were interested in the planning board, whether you had attended planning board meetings, and whether you would have time to attend, and what skills you're being brought to bear. So thank you so much for both applying to serve our city in this and to respond and take time to discuss your particular concerns and your ability to serve. So thank you, everyone. It was very nice to meet you all, and I agree with Councilmember or Vice Mayor Jarman that we have more of these coming up. This is just to fill Councilman Register's seat. So we have a few more coming up in September. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So for this or for other city boards, we would love for you to reapply. If you're not selected, we had 15, and so we're only going to pick one tonight. Okay.
All right.
Any further discussion? Yep. Go ahead, Mrs. Zoni.
Those voting for Stacia Green, Councilmember Coburn. Those voting for Chris Bishop, Councilman Register. Vice Mayor Vice Mayor Jarman.
That's okay, I'm not used to it.
Councilman Casto, so that's 3. And those voting for Peter Fissetti, Mayor Teddimer, 1.
Okay.
Wow, so we were able to do that in one vote with 15 applicants. Interesting.
Congratulations, Chris.
Again, thanks everyone for applying. There were a number of highly qualified applicants, and congratulations, Chris. Next up is number 10, board appointments. I think we agreed to go in order of, an alphabetical order for this one.
You skipped number 9.
Did I skip number 9?
No, I don't think so.
I think, yeah, numbering just wrong.
Oh, no, we added number 1,
That's right.
so it shifted the rest of them down.
Okay.
I know. I know.
Straight.
I messed up some of the numbers earlier, so we all take a turn there. Okay, so council board appointments, formerly number 9, now number 10. Let's do these in order of appointment. These come from the council. So, audit committee chair. Is there any discussion? Is anyone?
No, I think, yeah, I think that's traditionally been the place of the mayor. So
Okay.
I nominate the mayor.
I'll second that.
All right. Ms. Fazzoni? Or is there anything else? No? Ms. Fazzoni? Next one up is estuary.
I'm sorry. You still need a motion and a vote.
Yeah.
We got a motion.
Is there a motion on this?
Yeah, there's a motion.
Yeah, you'll need to make a motion and a vote on this if you only have one.
We had a motion
So-
in a second, right?
Yeah.
So
okay, we did.
moved.
Ms. Fazzoni?
Okay.
Please call roll.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Teddimer.
Yes, ma'am. Next up is estuary committee member. I think, Mary, you're very interested in ecology.
It appears so, yes.
Yeah?
I would have to agree with that. I would make a motion for Councilwoman Coburn to serve on the estuary
I will second that motion.
committee.
Okay. Ms. Fazzoni? Please call roll.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Teddimer.
Yes, ma'am. Next is Tourist Development Council.
Mayor, I have an announcement to make before we vote on this. Having served on the TDC for the past 4 years, I think it's time for a change on the TDC board. So I'd like to forego the rest of my term, which is, I have 2 years left, but I'd like to forego that and have the council appoint 2 new members tonight. Councilman Jarman is our next most senior member, and I think he would represent the beach well. I also have known Ethan Register for several years and know that he understands our tourism economy as well as just about anyone I know. I think they both would do an excellent job, and I'd like to nominate each of them to serve on the TDC board with me stepping down.
Thank you, Paul. Ooh, that's a lot for me.
I'd like to make a motion as well after we get a second on the motion that's on the table.
Well, okay, well, we'll see what happens, and then I'll see what I want to do. All right. Second.
Okay.
All right.
Call the roll on this motion.
So can we not consider another person as part of this vote?
I mean, if you want to nominate another person as far as part of your discussion, you can do that. And
Yes,
I think if we, at that point, we would probably, I would probably suggest that you go to a paper ballot at that point, if you've got multiples, or you can have a motion on the two the motion that's on the table, and then see how the results of that go, and then do another motion. That's up to you.
No, I think that we should just do it all together.
Okay.
Like no paper ballot, is that what you're saying?
No, we can still do it.
Like have a discussion and then, yeah.
Absolutely, okay.
But I'd like to nominate our mayor as our representative to the Tourist Development Council. Mayors have in the past sat on that council, going back to, I think it was Griff Griffin, and I know Gail Oberist, and Mike Thomas, and I believe there was another one that I forgot. And I think we kind of got away from that when our previous mayor had some conflict issues and would not always be able to vote on issues. So I think that our mayor needs to be on that committee.
And I will say, with all due respect to Councilman Register, there is a lot of representation for the tourism industry already on that committee, and given your day job, it may make sense to have more of a citizen's voice on that committee.
I can agree with that, but I'm also raising two girls in this community, so I also have the resident side in mind when it comes to the Tourist Development Council. I feel like I'm a great middleman. I work in the industry. It's the only job I've ever had is in the tourism industry. Worked with the same company straight up. Got my degree right here at FSU Panama City. I know this community very well. I appreciate Paul's kind words, and I'd love to serve on the TDC.
How is the TDC's makeup? I know that we have individuals on the TDC that are appointed to the TDC that are, ratepayers because they collect bed tax? And then what other type of representation is already on the TDC council?
So there are 2 seats appointed by the council from the council. There is 1 seat that has to be representing a business that collects the bed tax, and then 1 representative who does not collect the bed tax, and what we call a non-collector seat and a collector seat. So there you have 4 total appointments. 2 of them you are now discussing tonight, both of those being that have to come from members of the council.
I believe that there may be conflicts of interest with your position, and that is one of the reasons I think that our mayor should do that. Plus, I think it would be really good for the mayor to be more involved with the TDC.
Have you confirmed the conflict? Have you asked?
No, but there's,
I'm just asking because if I,
No.
if I make a statement like that, I'm going to research it and make sure if there is or there is not a conflict.
well, I don't know what they're going to be voting on, so it's hard to foresee whether there would be a conflict or not.
It's.
I mean, certainly the TDC disperses money to.
There's collectors
Yeah.
there now that there's no conflict there.
Exactly, they're already represented on that council. I think the mayor should be one of our representatives.
Well, just to make it clear, I own 0 business in Panama City Beach. I work for a business that is a tourism entity. So obviously I have no financial interest as far as me being an actual person that collects.
We're all residents, so
We're all residents.
I call for a vote. What? Do we need a second?
Do we need a
just
second?
Voting?
So
I don't,
We need
is
a-
there public
we need a
comments on this?
second.
No, I mean, under the law, this is a ministerial act. It's your decision. It's not, under the Sunshine Law, this is not subject to public comment.
Okay.
So that's my legal opinion for you.
do we need a second on the nomination of the mayor?
You don't, I mean, nominations don't require a motion and a second, just the vote to appoint does.
Thank you.
So I think the council and mayor as chair, I would say that you need to choose the method of voting based on the 3 nominations that you have for 2 seats.
Okay. I mean, let's do a voice vote.
So in that case, you have a motion and a second
Mhm.
to appoint Vice Mayor Jarman and Councilman Register.
Mhm.
So you'd like a roll call vote on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
No.
Mayor Tedmer.
No.
Okay. If that's the case, then I'm not going to be able to do TDC and TPO. I'm just not going to be able to do it. So I'm going to step down from the TPO. And I don't know, Paul?
I would love to serve on that. That's my background. I did
Yeah.
that for 35 years, so I would be happy to serve on the TPO.
I think you should stay on the TPO. There's a huge learning curve to being on the TPO. And you've had excellent attendance, and you've contributed a lot to that organization, and they've invested in you as well. So I think that you should stay with them.
I must say, when I attended a TPO meeting as a visitor, he did a really impressive job.
Well, thank you. I mean, we've worked very hard over the last 4 years to get where we are. In respect to Councilman Casto, being, 35 years in public works. So I don't think, there's going to be much of a learning curve. But I mean, I'm not going to be able to do both of them. I'm just not. I wouldn't be able to provide the level of service that I would want to provide. But on the TDC, I expect and will hold myself to the same level of service there that you saw at the TPO. So with that, yeah, I nominate Councilman Casto to sit on the TPO.
We make a motion on that?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion for a vote.
Do we have a motion?
I'll second it. I'd be honored to serve if y'all would let me.
Okay. Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
No.
Mayor Tedmer.
No.
Now we got one more.
Yep.
I'm also on the ECRC. So I nominate Councilmember Coburn for the ECRC.
Remind me what that acronym even stands for?
Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I've already got the estuary committee and I've got the TPO. That is
No.
fine for me.
That's a tie-in to the TPO, so.
That's
All
part
right,
of
well,
the
then-
TPO duties.
Then
yeah.
let Paul
Okay.
do it.
All right. So moved.
Second?
Second?
Okay. Let's call roll.
Okay. Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Mayor Tedmer.
Yes, ma'am.
We also forgot one mayor, the Bay County League of Cities. I currently sit on that. I've sat on it for 6 years. And sitting on that, it's mostly mayors of other communities, and every quarter they bring in a speaker like the airport director or the port director, guy that runs Kendall, the commander of the base. And I would like to step aside on that also and nominate you to serve us as Bay County's League of Cities, if you'd be interested in doing that. I think that you get updates of what all's going on when the legislature's in session, what's happening over there, and it's mostly mayors make that up. I don't know how I got on it, but anyhow.
Well, you were vice mayor.
Correct. But I think you would represent us well, so, and I think you would enjoy serving on that.
Yeah, I'd be honored.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. Ms. Fazzone?
Okay. Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Mayor Tedder?
Yes, ma'am. We still have one for the TPOs, right?
No, well,
One additional, right? Because there was one we had to nominate?
There was only one vacancy on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Councilmember Coburn.
Councilmember
Okay.
Coburn, I
Oh,
think
yeah,
has two
that's
more
right,
years.
that's right. Okay. That's it. Is there anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Next up is regular item number 11, discussion of board appointments. Mr. Whitman, can you give us a rundown of the other upcoming board vacancies?
Yes, sir. There's a few more that are out here. The first, I'll start with the audit committee. We have two individuals that no longer want to be on the audit committee. We put out applications today on the city's website. If anyone's interested, they can fill that out and get it back to us by the May 16th, next Thursday, is the deadline for that. Then if you slip down to the Civil Service Commission, we have one seat open on that. That's appointed by the board as a whole. That one I also opened up today. There's applications on the website if anyone's interested in that, because that's elected as a board appointment from the council itself. The examining board, that closed today. I only had one civilian put in for it, but I still need applicants for a gas fitter, and I also need one for a master electrician. No one put in for that, so I'd like to re-advertise that and try to get you some names before the next council meeting. And then if you go down to the half-cent sales tax committee, these are appointed by individuals on the board. Right now, I have 3 openings. One is for the appointment that Councilman Chester had. So Ethan, Councilman Register, I need you to appoint someone at the next meeting.
Okay.
The mayor's Sheldon's appointment was gone, so Mayor, I need you to appoint someone at the next meeting. And talking to Vice Mayor Jarman today, Doug Gilmore doesn't want to run again, which I was surprised at. He's done a great job for our half-cent sales committee, but those will be 3 appointments that you guys individually do. So I need an appointment from the mayor, Councilman Register, and Vice Mayor Jarman at the next meeting. Another one I want to bring up is the Northwest Florida Airport Authority. We have a member on that. His term ends on June 30th. That was the previous mayor. I just want to give that warning. If you do want me to advertise that, I haven't advertised it yet. But if you want me to advertise it again, I need to do that, so we try to get some replacement before the 30th, so there's some learning curve there. If you want to reappoint him, that's your choice. And then that is it for me, because the Park and Rec, that's appointed by the board, and they're all good into the year 2025.
Okay.
Any question on those?
Yeah, I think we should advertise that airport board, see if we get some other options there. For the examining board.
Do we have consensus on that?
I need to get consensus on everybody.
Consensus on
Advertising the airport authority?
That's fine with me.
It's fine with me,
Okay. Okay.
unless you want to do it, Mayor.
We can advertise.
Yeah, let's advertise and see what, I know there's several options that folks have talked to me about. I'd like to see, it's an important part of our community.
Okay.
For the examining board, I know we've had trouble filling that board. It may be worth re-examining how that board is made up. if we can't, if we have empty seats for, how long have we had those empty seats?
The gas fitter's been empty for a while. The master electrician, I'm not for sure on the date of that. They're just specialty seats and they're hard to fill.
Okay. It may be worth adding a discussion item for figuring out how we update that, or what do you think?
Yeah, Cole,
Sir?
is the formation or the organization of the examining board, is that
By ordinance.
by ordinance? Oh,
Yes, sir.
We can do it, yeah.
Well, I mean, you can direct me to get with staff and figure out what we could do to change those requirements. Just for general information, the examining board deals with complaints from residents about contractors. And so that's the reason why there's such a high degree of skill to be on that board, because they have to judge their peers. And so you need someone who knows enough technical knowledge to be able to understand when the resident or the contractor is right, or what's going on there. But if you direct us to, we could get with building and planning staff and see if there's any, any updates or tweaks we can make to make it easier.
Isn't it required that they not live in the city currently?
To live in this, no, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay, I thought there was some stipulation that they weren't supposed to be in the city.
I don't think they have to live in the city.
Yeah,
but They just have.
Perhaps we have some retired people out there. Maybe we got a retired gas fitter out there that
They are hard to
might
come
like
by.
do that.
Yes. I can probably find an electrician, but the gas fitters are few and far between now.
Well, and I will say, one of the requirements is you have to be engaged in the profession.
Oh, you have to be working,
do.
you can't be
Active, yes.
retired. Oh, that's a shame. We have so much talent in our community.
It's your ordinance.
Yeah, we can reevaluate the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
That may be a better way to fill the seat.
Yeah, we have to figure out some way to fill this. I mean, having an empty seat permanently is
not okay.
It's not useful.
Yeah, and it's a very important role that they play. I've attended their meetings before, and it's really important protection for our residents when they're having issues with contractors, to be able to bring them before the board and try to resolve the issue. And that board has the opportunity to pull their business permit as well. So it has some teeth.
All right.
All right.
So directed.
It sounds like there's direction to go revisit that and look at the examining board requirements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy to.
Let's see what our options are.
Do
All right.
other cities do it the same way we do?
We can look at that. I can't say that I know that.
Okay.
All right. So if anyone wants to apply, I encourage you for these board appointments. We'll have descriptions on the website, and we'll be sending out an email blast. It's a great way to get a foot in the door in city government, as Councilman Register can attest to, I believe, from the planning board.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great way to learn the rules, to kind of learn your way around here. So, please apply. I will say, after interviewing all the planning board members, it is extremely helpful if you have attended one of the meetings for the board you're applying to. You don't have to, but it's extremely helpful. So, please send us in. We would love to consider you. I think that's it. Next is city manager report.
Yes, Mayor. I have 2 items tonight. First one is, I'm just going to ask for some clarification on the tornado warning sirens and warning system. At the last council meeting, I really didn't get clear direction. I didn't want to interrupt everybody because it was more of a ceremonial, and I wanted you guys to get used to your seat. There's a couple things I wanted to know. When I got my last direction, it was you guys wanted total cost. The only way I could do a total cost if I put it out for RFP, which takes a lot of time and with staff, and it takes a lot of effort from the vendor to give me some hard numbers back. Would you guys be more willing if I have Chief Morgan go out and get estimated numbers on that?
I'm okay with ballparking.
Yeah, ballpark, and just seeing the options so that we can present them publicly. So, we can discuss it. I don't think we need the full RFP process.
I think we need some real numbers. I mean, it can be an estimate, but that $150,000, you're going to have to buy property. You're going to have to engineer it. You're going to have way more than 6 sirens on this island. I like the weather radar or weather radio idea, getting some grants and giving those out. I just still think the tornado siren is old technology. I mean, if you live in Tornado Alley in Kansas or Oklahoma or somewhere, they may still use them, but here with Bay Alert and everybody having cell phones, I bet there's not anybody in here that doesn't have a cell phone. You know, so I just think it's a waste of taxpayers' money to do it now. The technology's changed. So I don't know how much time we want to spend sending our staff down a rabbit hole if they can't go out for bid until they get it engineered and they know what they're doing. And I don't know if we really want to spend a whole lot of time on it.
Well, I was thinking we would, or the thinking is we would have the few options, including the weather radios, and we'd get rough estimates for each of them.
Okay.
Rather than going strictly for the kind of classic tornado signs. But we should consider that.
Yeah, and we should consider the maintenance on these.
Yeah, sure.
If you put them in, anything government does, you got to do it
you got to
right,
maintain it. Yeah.
If you don't, you'll be sued. So
exactly.
Here on the salt air, maintaining those is going to be very costly. And I don't think anybody in here wants one in their backyard. I know I don't. And it's going to be in somebody's backyard. And everybody's got these phones that get the alerts. Even if you're not on Bay Alerts, the National Weather Channel pushes those through to all the tourists here that have their cell phones. They'll hear that before they'll hear a siren if they're sleeping in their room half a mile down the road. So I just think it's old technology. I don't know how much time y'all want to waste on it.
I mean, I think everyone knows at this point my position on them. I mean, I encourage everyone to get a weather radio because, and just so everyone knows, they are referred to as indoor sirens because an outdoor siren is not designed to wake you up. Weather radio is. I'm okay with getting a very quick rough estimate to look at it. But listening to a lot of people that came up to speak in favor of tornado sirens, it was because they were asleep and they turned their phone off. Tornado siren is not going to help you in that situation. So, that's my 2 cents.
Can I speak, please, on this?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Yeah, you can't. I will say, I think it's worth, as we're discussing this as a item of intense public interest, it's worth getting the rough estimate, but also understanding the capabilities of the sirens, the capabilities of Bay Alert, the capabilities of the weather radios. It's useful to get what our full option space is here, but a quick version of it.
That's fine.
Yeah. Doing the RFP process, taking a whole bunch of staff time, taking a whole bunch of vendor time for something that is currently being debated here, that doesn't make sense. But getting the sense of what options we do have, especially because has such public interest, but getting the costs, because we're going to have to pay for this, and we're going to have to pay for it forever, or until we take it down. So.
Right. And we do have to acquire property, put these up, and property is very expensive out here on the beach, so that needs to be put in there.
Okay.
Real numbers for it.
So, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm okay with getting rough.
I'm happy to look at the rough numbers, but I don't want to spend a lot of time. I share a lot of the same sentiments that Mr. Casto shared with everyone. So,
I think we should look at the radio idea.
Yeah. What I was going to say, the second part of this, we are looking at the pros and cons of Bay Alert, and we are looking at the pros and cons of the weather radios. So we all will have that when we do a presentation. The main thing was, do you want a full-blown RFP, or can I bring you back some rough numbers with Chief Morgan, who's doing all the research on this?
Rough numbers.
Yeah.
And one thing you can do with your phones that a lot of people don't know is you can turn off everything, but you can still leave your alerts on, and your phone can still, if you're signed up for Bay Alert, you'll still get that alert. You can turn off your ringers. You can do the do not disturb. But there's a setting on your phone, if you leave your alerts on for Bay Alert, you'll still get that. And if you turn everything off, or turn off Bay Alerts, or you don't sign up for Bay Alerts, if the National Weather Service sends it out, you'll get it if you're in that geofence. That's some of the things we're looking at now. I just want to put that out for the audience, just in case they're concerned about it. There are options they can do, but Captain Ray Morgan will do a lot better job doing a presentation in 2 weeks. I just needed to know where you wanted with the RFPs.
Yeah, I see a lot of this as public education for those items, because I know there's been discussion up here. There's discussion in the community. We need to be clear, and I'm sure the chief will be able to give us clarity on that.
Yes, sir.
Can we look at providing workshops for our residents to come up and better facilitate how to use their phone and how to sign up for those alerts? I know
Programming of weather radios.
Programming of it, even the weather, or just how to use Bay Alert. I know one lady had said she got a lot of, she was a real estate agent, and people call her all hours of the night looking for real estate, and she turns her phone on silent. My phone, I sleep with on silent as well, but there's a way to override Bay Alert for that, like you said, for it to come through. And we just need to teach people and inform our residents how to do that.
Yeah,
You're going to do it for every phone model, every year?
I can't imagine it being that difficult to, I mean, the phones are pretty much all the same when it comes to Bay Alert. I've been on the website, and
is
with
there
an
any
iPhone
other place in the state of
Android.
Florida that has these sirens that anybody knows of anywhere in the state of Florida?
Chief Morgan would know better. I think there's one down south, but I don't want to confirm that. There's one or two down south.
Is that a county? The whole county does
Sir,
it? Or?
I don't know. I didn't ask Chief Morgan that.
Very few.
But to answer your question, we could do like a Q&A part of that, where we can do something on the line where I can get Chief Morgan to do something like that, where we can say, this is how you can address this phone and that phone, and maybe put that out.
That'd
And
be
if
great.
someone has an issue, they could probably come up here, we could show them, or Chief Morgan could probably show them on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think having ongoing instructions for folks, no matter what we go for here, I mean, certainly we have a system right now, which is Bay Alert, and so making sure people can effectively use it, it would benefit us all.
And that's something we can do now. That's not something we have to wait. We don't have to, that's something we can do, and we can, while we're actively pursuing other options.
And that ties into your education side.
Yeah, no,
So,
great idea.
And it's both the Bay Alert and the wireless emergency notification system, which is different than Bay Alert.
Yeah, correct. As long as I can turn off the Amber Alerts from South Florida.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do you have clear direction now?
I have a clear direction now. And just one other thing, the air show in Thunder Beach, I just want to thank our staff for the amazing job they did, the team spirit they showed out there. I just appreciate everything every single employee does for the city, for our community and our visitors, and to see the team effort out there and the enjoyment in their face. I just want to thank them for their hard work. That's all I have, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Whitman. City Attorney.
I just have one thing, just for anyone who may be Googling Bay Alert. It's actually Alert Bay.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to clarify that. That's my only report.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, yeah, and we covered the voting item for.
Yeah, we're fine.
Ballots. Okay, great. Next is council member comments. Councilmember Coburn.
Yes, somehow Iron Man got left off our event list this time. And it's actually one of my favorite events. I was at registration this afternoon and going back again tomorrow. But this year we have just under 2,000 athletes competing in this race. And they are representing 28 countries and 45 U.S. states. And I thought that was just phenomenal. 28 countries.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
Huge reach.
Okay, I'm going to tack on to that. Where would someone go to look at the route map? Because I know that would be an important thing for especially residents to know what route the...
It was mailed to everyone.
Okay.
Or I know I received one. Yeah. But I do believe they have a website.
But I think that, yeah, I just
well.
want to make sure, I mean, someone got my mail, my wife or one of my kids, but if there was some place online that people can go to look at that, maybe we can put it on our website so that we can track where it's going. I know I do.
One of the first things I'm gonna do on the TPO is try to get the state to put us a tunnel over here between the two parks. So big events like the Ironman, people won't have to get held up for an hour with bicycles and runners. They can shoot them right through that tunnel. They just did one 5 miles from here in Walton County. So that's to keep that event here. That I get more complaints on that event holding people up. Not this one, but the one in November is even twice what.
It's a larger event, yes.
So they have to cross Back Beach Road, and sometimes they hold traffic up an hour or so.
Well, I don't see them running through a tunnel, but who knows?
Why not? If you can walk through it, you could run through it. That's just my thought. But anyhow, if they have them in Walton County, I'm gonna be pushing the state to try to get us one here.
Well, you should go check that one out after it
I
rains.
already have.
After the rain?
They have a pump in there and pumps it out. So it's got lights in it. It's very nice. You ought to check it out. I've already looked at it. But they do have, they're confined in space there with the location where we got parks on both sides. We could, just have it tapered with like a 8-degree grade where the cyclists and the runners should just shoot right through up on Pier Park Drive and keep going. Not hold anybody up trying to cross or to drive to the airport, catch a flight and miss it because they had to wait an hour. And that happens in the big race in November.
Well, I think we're all for making traffic better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a tunnel at the resort, so it's worked well for.
Oh, that's right. You got
30,
one on
30
Front
years,
Beach Road.
It goes right under Front Beach Road, so.
Yeah, that's right. We got one here. But anyhow, not to get off on that, but it's a great event, but.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great event, and a lot of those people from the different countries stay with us, and it's a blessing to be able to serve them, and really, really good for our community.
Is that it for your comments, Councilmember? There's a team effort there. Councilman Casta?
I just, like Chief Whitman said, thank our staff for working together for this air show. I was down there all 3 days. And saw all the departments working down there, working together, and it was a great show. I hope we can get our own weekend for that air show in the future. It was too bad we had to combine both of them this time, but we learned from it, and hopefully going forward we can have just one weekend designed for that air show, what I hope. But thank you guys for everything y'all did.
Okay. Councilman Rich?
Same thing. Want to tell the staff how much I appreciate them. I think the traffic plan was incredible to get the traffic out of there after having such a big event with bikes on the road. I think they cleared out Pier Park Saturday afternoon, an hour and 26 minutes. I never would have thought that would have been possible. So I want to commend Chief Dow and his crew. All of our first responders did an incredible job over the weekend responding. Unfortunately, I heard lots of sirens, but they did an incredible job, handled it very well. But also want to thank the residents that come and speak in these meetings. It means a lot to me. I'm learning from you guys. So I do appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate y'all's perspective. And we're listening. We're going to hear you out and work together to do the very best we can for you guys. So appreciate y'all so much.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor Durham?
Just the same. I mean, we had one heck of an event this past weekend with the air show, and I think it was an experience that a lot of us have never had. You know, you were like me, you stand in the front yard and you see these awesome machines going right over your head. And the amount of work that went into putting this together at all levels, especially with the police and fire and all our mutual aid partners, it was just an incredible time. I didn't make it out there because I was sick all weekend, but I didn't have to because most of us could see it from our front yards, which is just, I mean, where else have you ever heard of that happening? So, I mean, it was phenomenal, and I can't thank the Air Force enough, and like what was said, I hope we can continue this. So, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I want to thank, I had the opportunity in the morning of Saturday morning to join the fire department, Station 30, to ride along with them for about 4 hours to just see the world from their perspective. And we got a lot of dedicated men and women at that fire department, and I really appreciate everything they showed me. It was really, you don't want to see car accidents, but it's telling to see it from their point of view, and they have expert eyes. Also, the police allowed me to ride along in the evening, so after I got stuck in that traffic, I got to see the police point of view from about 5 to 9 p.m. So working Thunder Beach, we have some really dedicated men and women on the police force. It was fascinating to see how they what they go through to deal with this. So I thank those two departments, thank all the service members and government personnel from across the region that made last weekend's events possible. It was an impressive rally, and it was quite an air show. I think everyone I talked to really enjoyed the show. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I know it was a lot of hard work. A lot of days of work with no days off. So thank you all for doing everything you can in your commitment to keeping the public safe. The men and women of our city work diligently to keep everyone safe, and Panama City Beach has an impressive public safety record. Sometimes the worst happens, and for the families that lost loved ones, you have our deepest condolences. With that, the meeting is adjourned. I'll see everyone in a few weeks. May God bless you all.